Northern California.
All right, for the people who don't know, I'm artisanmc, and this is my review of Trick or Treat. Now, I watched this movie because Mr. Carbonmaster said it was a good movie and I should watch it. And humoring him, I went ahead and paid the $3 to rent this movie on Amazon Prime and watch it. And having sat through that hour and 18 minutes worth of movie, I can truly say it was a piece of shit movie. Now, if you're watching this review, the watch party or me watching this movie will be up on Patreon. And to be honest, there were some parts on it that I did laugh. There is. Mostly, it was a bunch of cobbled together crap. Now, my horror movie days to me are behind me because I'm older and I've actually lost people. So horror movies don't entertain me like that anymore. They just don't. When I was a teenager and a preteen, yeah, it was. Nowadays, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's going to take a really good movie to rise to that level of being entertaining to me because I don't find death like that entertaining. This was, although I laughed, not entertaining. It wasn't. I do feel I wasted my time. I could have been doing my Andor episode, 6 or 7 review, which I really liked. This I didn't. Mostly I'm just watching it thinking how silly this shit is. Even for 2009, it was silly. So, excuse me. You get the story, and one of the things that happened in the beginning was a little bit of a disjointed mess. Whereas you get the story of this older couple coming home from trick-or-treating, and the wife hates trick-or-treating. And when they get back to the house, the husband is trying to tell her not to blow out the jack-o'-lantern. And she doesn't care. She blows out the jack-o'-lantern, and he's trying to impress upon her that it's tradition, you're not supposed to do it. Now, all the various traditions of where All Hallows Eve and Halloween actually comes from is stuff that you can look up. I don't know all of them, and I don't actually care to either. She blows out the excuse me, this is how much this thing is riveting me. She puts out the jack-o'-lantern. They go up on the steps, and he wants to have sex tonight. And she's like, she's not interested because her mother's coming over early in the morning tomorrow. But she wants him to clean up all the Halloween decorations. She kind of acquiesces to him and says, okay, she'll pull down the decorations that night. And he can go in and put on the tape and, I guess get ready for their time upstairs having sex. Now, this is stupid as fuck to me because I said fucking mother. If you're grown adults, you own a house, you've gone trick-or-treating and you have no children, and you decorated your whole fucking front yard the way you wanted it, who gives a fuck if your mother is coming over the next day? Leave that shit up. Why take it all down that night? It's Halloween. People are still out trick-or-treating. It was stupid. And there was a lot of stuff like that. Now, that was one story happening. You get the intro, and then it moves to something else. And this is where they made a fail because maybe I missed it or not, it doesn't tell you what actually goes on. It just starts going with another part of the story. You're introduced to these girls who are in a costume store on Halloween night buying costumes. Now, even in 2009, I didn't think this happened because by Halloween night, everything is closed. So people can go trick or treating and stuff like that. You're not buying Halloween costumes that night. But be that as it may, these girls are all in there. They're talking about how they have their what they did last year and whatnot. And so this year they have these sleigh outfits on. And they come out and they look like Disney princesses. And you get the introduction of the fourth member of the group, which is Anna Paquin, dressed as Little Red Riding Hood. Now, while it's cool to see Anna Paquin in this, she looks old as fuck. She does. She looks way too old to be playing this young of a fucking character. She just doesn't. But she is a draw. She is a named actress in this. So you ride with these girls and why they're trying to find dates for this party. Now, from the conversation, you get that something might not be on the up and up. Excuse me, I'm tired. But things might not be on the up and up with these girls. But one girl hits on the guy at the cash register, and he agrees to meet her later on in the woods for a party. The other two girls go outside. They start speaking to the little news crew, cameraman and the news crew guy, and they invite them to the party. And they leave Anna Paquin's character to find her date for the night, not be shy, and just to pick up some guy. And, you know, she can meet them later there. Now, this part is a little bit weird because you know something is up. Something is up. It's not extremely kosher with these people. So she goes around in the crowd trying to find somebody that she likes and have it be a date, right? And the indication is that she is going to have sex with this dude out in the woods and lose her virginity, so to speak, in the woods. Okay, all well and good. Now you get from this scene and it flips to the next scene where you have this little fat kid walking and knocking people's jack-o'-lanterns off the top of their fences. And he comes to this one house that's really dark, but it has candy on the porch, and it has a note that says, just take one. And in fat kid fashion, he just sticks his whole portly hand in there and just starts loading up on all the candy. And he's shocked by, I want to say this guy's name is William H. Macy. I think that's his name. But he's there, and it's his house. And he scolds him about taking too much candy. But he's stern enough with him that he knows who the kid is. He calls him by name and tells him to sit down. The kid is scared. Now, they sit there on the porch. And this character, Mr. Wilkins, pulls a knife out of his bag and starts talking to this kid about, you know, Halloween and traditions and whatnot, and that the knife isn't for him, it's for the pumpkin, because his were all dull. And while they're sitting there talking, Mr. Wilkins does start to carve up this pumpkin on his porch at night, which is also dumb, right? But whatever. Through that, what ends up happening during the conversation is the kid starts gurgling and burbling in his stomach. And Mr. Wilkins tells him one of the things that the kid forgot is that you always check your candy on Halloween, and the kids just start vomiting chocolate and blood. The kid has been poisoned. Now, at this point, I'm watching this like, what the fuck is this? What is this movie? Now, while the intense vomiting that this kid is doing is somewhat comical, because it's just like buckets of fucking, I don't know, chocolate milk or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Story wise, is fucked up. This is a young boy who knows him. And it turns out that this man, Mr. Wilkinson, is the school principal. And he's just poisoned this kid on his porch. That the kid just threw up all over his porch. And you're like, what the fuck is going on exactly? What does this have to do with anything? Now, Mr. Wilkins drags this kid into his house. And while the kid has still got, spooge all over his face and stuff, he gets it on Mr. Wilkins' shirt. While Mr. Wilkins is inside his house, the doorbell rings, and he comes to the door, and it's some other little kids. And they see the blood on his shirt and stuff like that, and realize that they're thinking it's a good costume. One of the kids ain't feeling it too much, but he's like, shit, let's get out of here. Right? They leave. And then there's one little weird kid still standing on the porch that also leaves. Now, what you find out is Mr. Wilkins is actually a murderer. And he takes this body to the backyard to bury it in a hole in his backyard that already has another body in it. And he's interrupted by the neighbor's barking dog and his son yelling out the window at him that he's back from trick-or-treating. Now, something weird happening is that he doesn't want his son to keep yelling because it's drawing attention to things. But his son is not shocked that there's a hole in the backyard that his father is standing in. Meaning something weird is going on. And by the time you get to the resolve, after you're introduced to the neighbor's dog, the neighbor, some of this other stuff, and that his son is pestering him about carving the pumpkin and everything else, Mr. Wilkins comes inside and he's really upset that this boy keeps yelling for him. And when he gets inside, he goes for a knife and his son scares the shit out of him. Now, while that's weird, not altogether weird, he's pissed off. So when he tells his son, yes, we can carve a pumpkin downstairs, he picks up a knife and hides it behind his back and walks his son downstairs. Now, at this point, I'm really thinking, like, what in the fuck is going on here? What is this? Is he going to kill his own son now? What in the shit is this? Well, they get downstairs, and it's a scene where he holds his son's head and raises the knife up and brings it down off camera and pulls it back and it's bloody. And you really are sitting there like, he just fucking killed his kid. But then it pans out and you see that his kid is all right. But what he has done is stab the head of this boy who threw up on his porch, that he cut off his head and took it downstairs, and him and his son are going to carve that up like a pumpkin. What? Okay, whatever the fuck. Now, from this scene, it transitions to a group of kids that had trick-or-treated at Mr. Wilkins' house. And they are going to several other houses and wanting to take pumpkins or jack-o'-lanterns for their scavenger. And they come to this one house where a girl on the spectrum lives and has carved all these bunch of really good pumpkins. And they meet up with another friend of theirs and use that friend to get the girl to come along with them. Now, they go off to a rock quarry in town with these pumpkins that they gathered up and this girl and tell her this story about Halloween Bus Massacre, where 8 kids were special needs kids. Parents got tired of taking care of them, paid the bus drivers to, instead of take them home, strap them in the bus and take the bus over the edge of the rock quarry and kill them. Now, while this is stupid, all the kids here are dressed as Halloween costume characters, one of which you might have seen recently in the show. You get that story and find out how it resolves that the kids on the bus are killed, and the driver is never seen of again. He disappeared. Nobody knows who the driver is. Now these 5 kids tell the story. They're kind of scared, but they want to take these pumpkins down to the water's edge to leave them for the 8 souls that died. But only 3 can go down first. 3 go down, and then the other 2 go down. The Spectrum girl and the youngest boy, they go down. While they're going down, they hear all this screaming and carrying on that these 3 that went down before are being attacked. They get down there, the boy's terrified, but the Spectrum girl decides, no, it's okay, just stay here, you'll be safe behind the jack-o'-lanterns. And she ventures off into the dark and gloom after hearing this story to look for these other 3 kids. Down there, she comes upon the bus from the story. And where all the water went, I don't know. But apparently it's gone now. She sees the mask of the kids. Excuse me. She sees the mask of the kids that were there before her. She goes to grab it, and a monster comes up out of the water and tries to grab her. And they start chasing her. And in her running, she gets to a certain point where there's a cliff, she falls and hits her head. Loses her glasses, all that shit. And what you find out is when the monsters come upon her, knocked out, they say, oh shit. Because in fact, they're not monsters. They're the 3 kids that went down before her, playing a prank on her to scare her. Why? Don't fucking know. I guess they like torturing Spectrum kids. Be that as it may. The Spectrum girl wakes up. She's scared, but then finds out that it was actually them. And the guy who coaxed her onto this little journey with them feels some kind of sympathy for her and decides it's time for them to leave. Let's clean up our stuff and leave. He sends the other kids to go gather their belongings. Once they start gathering their belongings, they start hearing voices, murmurs, and whispers. And all of a sudden, they're running for their life because something there is trying to get at them. And what you find out is that the story was real. And these kids that died on that bus are up and walking around and coming for them. And in true horror movie fashion, they all try to run to get away from these things chasing them. And they get back to the elevator, and the Spectrum girl is on the elevator with the jack-o'-lanterns around her. But does she let them in the elevator? Oh, no. Even after one of the girls is dragged away, she still doesn't. She pushes a button and takes the elevator up and leaves them to their fate. So now we have 4 more kids killed in this. And you ask yourself, what's the point? Exactly. Now, one of the parts I missed earlier on was that you cut to a scene downtown where it's all, Anna Paquin's character is kind of moved around looking for a date. Everybody seems to be hooked up with somebody or whatever. And the camera pans down the alley where people are making out and everything. And it gets to this one part where a young girl is making out in the back with some dude in a cloak. and they're kissing and whatnot. She's talking about having another drink, but he doesn't want to have another drink. She tries to take off his mask. He doesn't want his mask taken off. And they're just getting all into it. And it's like he's going down on her and doing some other stuff, right? When he comes back up and she checks, she's bloody all over her arms and stuff like that. And she starts freaking. And looks at the guy, and he has fangs like a vampire. And all of a sudden, I'm asking myself, what in the fuck? He's a vampire? So vampires are in this now? It's not making any sense. It's making no fucking sense at all. Now, the girl tries to run away. She runs into the crowd, asking for help. And she bumps into the couple from the beginning of the movie. So apparently this is earlier in the evening that all of this stuff is connected on one night. These are the clues to let you know all of this connected. All right. She runs into that couple, and that couple is leaving the festivities and apparently going home, right? Nobody helps this girl because she's bleeding on Halloween out on the street where everybody else got blood and stuff all over. So they don't think it's real. But the person who's chasing her, the vampire, does. Wraps her in his cloak and apparently kills her and leaves her sitting on a bench right there near everybody. Now, how he wrapped her in his cloak and finished killing her is with a crowd of people around. It's a wonder to me, especially since nobody's paying attention to him like it was a play act. I don't fucking know. But this guy in the cloak moves on to track his next victim. And his next victim is Anna Paquin, as Red Riding Hood. He starts following her. Now, the next story goes to Mr. Wilkins' neighbor, who turns out to be Mr. Krieg, played by Brian Cox. Now, that's cool to see Brian Cox in this because I like Brian Cox as an actor. He's a fine actor. One of my favorite movies he was in was Long Kiss Goodnight. Good dialogue, funny delivery, but he can be a good serious actor too. And as he was playing Agamemnon in Troy, it was a serious role. He's great either way. A lot of personality comes through. He's in this. Not a lot of dialogue, not a lot to do. He's just some crotchety old man standing in his house when all of a sudden this little big-headed kid in a onesie that's been walking around this whole movie shows up in his house. And you see that this thing, as in the beginning of the movie, is some kind of supernatural force or some shit. I don't fucking know. It's not explained. It's just stupid. The damn thing looks like a baby with a sack over his head. It's carrying candy with razor blades in it. It's like, what in the fuck is this? Now, these are some of the parts where I damn laughed because for me, at my age, this seemed like a Chucky ripoff or a Poltergeist ripoff. Or both at the same time. And some of the stuff that happens with this little, bobbleheaded kid in the house with Mr. Krieg is kind of funny. It's funny in a messed up way, right? Getting his legs stabbed and stuff like that. It's like, okay, that's fucked up. He left, M&Ms and gumballs on the stairs, so he fell down the stairs. Okay, that's interesting. All right, whatever, fuck. But by the time they get downstairs and this thing is crawling on the ceiling to keep Mr. Krieg from leaving his own house, it gets really funny because once he knocks him down and does some other little shit, Mr. Krieg gets the drop on him with his shotgun and blows this little thing down the hallway. And the scene where he slides into view from the hallway against the wall is funny. It's a funny thing. But then you've seen what his face looks like now because he's ripped off the potato sack. And you see, it's just like a demented pumpkin skull or something. Like, what the fuck is this? Where did it come from? Why is it here? Don't know. Don't matter. The thing keeps going after Mr. Krieg. And you discover that it is somehow an undead thing because its hand starts attacking Mr. Krieg. And I'm speeding this up just because I want to finish the shit, right? And you see that the hand operates on its own and comes back to the body and wakes up the body and then reattaches to the body and goes back after Mr. Krieg again. Now, he's been stabbed in both legs and he can't really move and he's terrified and up against the wall and the thing is just lurking in on him and goes to stab him and doesn't kill him. It has, in fact, stabbed a candy bar that fell on Mr. Krieg's chest. And I guess he takes that and leaves. And I guess that's supposed to mean trick or treat or give me something good to eat. So I guess that counts as him giving the thing something good to eat. It's like, what? What is this fucking movie? Now, the next thing, in a sense, you get is that Anna Paquin's character, Red Riding Hood, is walking to where her friends are having this party. And the girls are there, they're having a party. The guys are there trying to kiss and make out and shit, drinking beer. It's just a good old time to be had. Apparently, one of her friends has called her, told her they got somebody for her, so just to come on. So she's coming, and she's being stalked by this fake vampire dude, right? And at some point, she actually just calls out to the person to show yourself. And sure enough, vampire fashion, he appears where she wasn't looking and attacks her and bites her on the neck. Scene after that, you get her cloak and everything falling from the trees at the party. And everybody's freaked out. And they open the cloak to find out it is not Anna Paquin in that cloak. It is, in fact, the vampire guy asking for help. And when they pull the mask off, it's like, oh my God, Scooby-Doo moment. It's Mr. Wilkins. So somehow Mr. Wilkins was out pretending to be a vampire killing people, but he was also at home with his son carving up the kid that he had already killed. I think there's a little bit of a time discrepancy there. Either way, something weird is going on here, and Mr. Wilkins kind of starts realizing it when he's wondering who these people are, because one of the girls reaches in his mouth and pulls out his fake fangs, because he's not really a vampire. But what he's seeing there is a lot of dead bodies of the guys that these girls picked up as a date for the night and invited to this party. Their bodies are laid out there on the ground. And Anna Paquin walks in. And there's some discussion between the girls about what's going to happen, and Anna Paquin goes over and straddles Mr. Wilkins, and all the other girls start dancing and freaking out and stuff like that, and their eyes change color and their teeth grow, and you're thinking, oh my God, they're fucking they're real vampires, right? This will explain how Anna Paquin overpowered Mr. Wilkins when he bit her. That's why he was falling from the goddamn trees, because she threw him. What you get, though, it's a little bit different. Like, why these girls have fangs and claws and eyes turning colors? They start splitting their skin, cutting their skin off and ripping it off. And ripping their skin off reveals fur, and you find out that they're all fucking werewolves. And it's like, what? Werewolves are real in this? Makes no sense, right? Now, I mixed up some of these things. I did, but this was the next to last scene. You have Anna Paquin straddling him, turning into a werewolf. And it turns out this is her first kill as a werewolf. That's what the virginity was. This was her first kill. So she turns into a full-on werewolf and kills Mr. Wilkins. Too bad, so sad for his son, apparently at home by himself with a dead mother. Now, get back to Mr. Krieg. His doorbell rings and people are trick-or-treating. And Mr. Krieg comes to the door this time and gives out candy to the kids. He's all bandaged up, and the kids compliment him on his mummy costume. It ain't no costume. He's not a fucking mummy, right? And while the kids are leaving, Mr. Krieg looks out his front door, outside of his gate, and the little, baby pumpkin head thing is standing out there staring at him. He doesn't say anything, just staring at him. And across the street, you see the young couple from the beginning coming home and see what's going on with them when they were coming home in the beginning of the movie. And see the little pumpkin head kid looking over at them. And when the wife blows out the jack-o'-lantern, the little pumpkin head kid looks like, well, here we go. And heads across the street to go fuck with them. Now, while Mr. Krieg sees that, he turns and goes in the house. And no sooner than he gets 2 steps from the door, his doorbell rings again. Turns around, steps back out onto the porch to give out some candy, and it's a bunch of ghouls. The 8 kids that died in the bus are on his porch saying, trick or treat. Give me something good to eat. And it turns out that Mr. Krieg was, in fact, the bus driver that went missing. And those ghouls come in there and rip him apart. And that's the end of this movie. This was stupid. This was not a good movie. This is a stupid movie. Now, I told you the whole beat of the movie. I mixed up some scenes in some places, my bad. But to show you how stupid it was. Now, if you watch this on Patreon, you'll see me watching this movie and hear my commentary while I'm watching this movie. You'll see my face. Yeah, I giggled at some parts because it was fucking stupid. It was just stupid. It was just something funny that happened during the movie. The movie wasn't good. So I ask you, Mr. Carbon Master, why the fuck did you ask me to watch this movie? This was not a good movie. It was a waste of $3 goddamn. I should have made you pay me $40. So, yeah, your name will be in the title on this one, homie. Oh, yeah, it will be on the title. We might even do a live stream so you can come and defend this piece of shit. Because I personally don't like watching bad movies. I don't. Because it's a suck of my time. And since I have to actually turn around and do a review on this, it's a real waste of my goddamn time. I could have been watching Andor again and doing my notes and recording that. But no, I sat up here and watched this Trick or Treat because I am a man of my word. I said I'd watch it. I said I'd review it. You got to watch. You got to review. I'm not happy. I'm not a happy camper. So, this was my review of Trick or Treat, the movie from 2019. It was a terrible movie. It wasn't good. Nothing really redeeming about it, and nothing really made sense. I won't even bother looking up who directed this piece of shit or wrote it. I don't care. I don't care. I'm mad I watched it. I'll never watch it again, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. It ain't even no good shit to laugh about, really, in this. So, that's my review of Trick or Treat. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.
right, but it's all an illusion.